I. It was never supposed to happen. Never in a million years did I imagine the connection that formed between us, the passion, the danger, the forbidden nature of it all. I didn't ask for it, yet it came crashing into my life, leaving me with a secret so powerful it could destroy everything I ever thought I knew about family and myself. But what if I told you that my nephew wasn't just family? That the line between right and wrong blurred in a way I couldn't ignore? You won't believe what happened when our paths crossed. We met when he was just a boy, my sister's son, the one I had watched grow from a child into the man he is now. But there was something about him that felt different from the rest of the family. His eyes, they were never like anyone else's. So intense, so full of secrets. I remember the first time he truly looked at me, really looked at me. There was this flicker in his gaze, like he saw through me. It wasn't innocent. It wasn't the look of a nephew admiring his aunt. It was something darker, something more raw. I felt my pulse quicken. At first, I told myself it was nothing, a moment of weakness. But then the moments kept coming. There was one afternoon when I was alone in the house and he came over looking for some help with his studies. He was standing there in my kitchen, so close, I could feel the heat of his body. I didn't want to feel it, but my body betrayed me. My heart was racing. But I couldn't stop looking at him. That tight, lean body, the way his hands moved so confidently as he spread out his books, the way his lips parted ever so slightly when he spoke. That was the moment I realized I couldn't ignore it anymore. Second hook. What happened next was a mistake I couldn't take back. But the truth is, I don't know if I wanted to. The first time it happened, I never planned it. Never. But he was there, and we were alone. Something about the air between us felt charged. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. I wanted him to leave, but at the same time, I wanted him to stay. He looked at me with that same gaze, and before I could stop myself, I whispered his name. And he came closer. Closer than he ever had before. My heart thudded in my chest. He didn't pull away, not even when I closed the distance between us, and the heat of his breath hit my skin. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice a low, smooth whisper. So unlike anything I'd ever heard from him before, there was an edge to it now, something that made my stomach flip. His hand reached up to touch my cheek, and I should have pulled away. I should have. But I didn't. I closed my eyes as his thumb brushed across my skin, and that was the moment I lost control. I should have stopped. I should have said no. But I didn't. And neither did he. What happened next was a spiral that I couldn't escape. Third hook. I thought I could keep it secret. But secrets like ours always come out in the end. After that day, things between us changed. We couldn't look at each other the same way anymore. Every touch, every glance, every shared silence held so much weight. There was tension between us now, a tension that neither of us could ignore. We saw each other at family gatherings, and it felt dangerous, exciting. But also, like we were on the edge of a cliff, and all it would take was one wrong move to fall. And yet, we couldn't stay away. The more I told myself it was wrong, the more he pulled me in. I would feel his eyes on me across the room, and the heat between us would flare up, hotter than before. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. The urge was too much. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was beyond forbidden. But I didn't care. When I saw him standing in the doorway, looking at me with that intensity, I moved towards him. Before I even realized what was happening, my lips were on his. There was no going back after that. It wasn't just a kiss. It was an explosion. But in that moment, it felt like the only thing that mattered was the connection between us. It felt right. At least, that's what I told myself. Fourth hook. But what happens when passion and guilt collide? When the truth comes to light? I had no idea how much the consequences of this would tear my life apart. Days turned into weeks, and every encounter only grew more charged. We found secret places, hidden spots where no one could find us. Each time we met, the stakes got higher. It was thrilling. It was terrifying. The thrill of it all, the danger, the risk, it only made me want him more. But all that passion came at a cost. I couldn't go back to the way things were. There was no pretending anymore. I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. And every time I looked at him, I knew we were both in too deep. But what could I do? The temptation was too strong. His touch was too intoxicating. And then came the day when everything changed. The day I thought everything would come crashing down. The day the secret was exposed. I'll never forget the look on his face when he walked in and saw me with someone else. His eyes, they were dark, full of something I couldn't name. I had been careless that night. I was careless in everything, really. I had believed foolishly that no one would notice, that no one would know. But that look told me everything. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The way he looked at me, the fire burning in his gaze, I knew it was over. But what I didn't expect was for him to walk away, silently, as if he were leaving me to drown in my own guilt. The truth is, I was already drowning. I've been drowning ever since.